Get ready. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Start. Madam, I am on a point of order. The points I wish to make are to my belief of substance because there are no rules or precedents that exist on it. However, you might rule on them after you have heard my explanation them. They will be setting precedents on the subjects. The very first question that I would like to raise, and I have already written to you about this, is the procedure and the method to be adopted while taking up a report of the House for consideration, particularly when it is the report of the Joint Parliamentary Committee. Here, I would like to make a distinction between the methodology that is being adopted today and that which has been adopted by our Parliament ever since it came into existence. I hold that it is for the first time ever that we are considering the report of a joint parliamentary committee through the medium of a short duration discussion. A short duration discussion in this house, or I believe Rule 193 in the other house, is a parliamentary device for airing views, for expressing or giving voice to a concern which is of some immediate public importance. This method adopted for discussing that which is the substantial enterprise of the two houses of parliament, irrespective of the contents of the report, is unsatisfactory. If this were merely to be discussed through the medium or the parliamentary device of short duration discussion, I do not think we are doing justice to report of a joint parliamentary committee. Now we would have accepted, and it would have been normal to accept, that in as important a matter as the report of a joint parliamentary committee, the government had come forward with a substantive motion that they accepted the report or not should have been made known to the House. Had they come forward with a substantive motion, perhaps some of us might have given motion of amendments. I have personally given notice to the motion, yet no day was named. My esteemed colleague has also given notice of the motion that this report be considered on a substantive motion and not through the medium of a short duration discussion. Had they been done, we would have been entitled to the following on some of the amendments that I have moved. Sir, I come to another provision. In the statement of objects and reasons one of the objects mentioned is reducing unnecessary cost or burden by requiring companies to attach only an abridged form of prospectus to the application form. I would like to know specifically from the Honorable Minister which section of companies has represented that the cost of printing the balance sheet is prohibitive and they want to reduce it. I submit that in the annual report as presented today, there is a whole section dealing with listing of employees getting salaries of over rupees 3000, and I find that over the years this figure of 3000 is not increased. In this amending bill, there is some provision resulting in large companies having thousands of such employees, and they are listing those employees, which itself takes up 30 or 40 pages of the balance sheet. Merely deleting that provision can bring down the cost of printing, and that will not affect the small investors in any way. Instead of doing that, they have taken powers now suggest that it should be deleted altogether. A small shareholder is not interested in who is employed and what salary he is getting. He is only interested in knowing whether a director's relative has been employed, and that was the original purpose. This was inserted in the 60s when it was found that the wives or relatives of the managing directors of companies were appointed on high salaries. So a provision was inserted. At that time, 3000 rupees was a very high salary. It was said that with regard to people drawing above 3000 rupees, details should be given. Today, the law should be amended to the effect that if the director's relatives or those connected with the companies are employed by the company, details should be given. Probably after this provision, nobody's relative will be employed because it will come to the adverse notice of the government. But abridging the whole balance sheet to reduce costs is not good. We are seeing larger corporations, instead of just giving information as required by the Companies Act, printing fancy balance sheets, color photographs, offset printing, etc. Certainly, they are not worried about the cost. It is a strange thing that the government is worried about reducing the cost unless we are talking about the balance sheets of the public sector companies, which is a different matter. But the companies which are doing so take pride in printing color balance sheets, and it cannot be their representation, and in the name of reducing costs. You cannot bar vital information from us. Stop.